Hello everyone, this is Evangelia Papadopoulos with Keller Williams Real Estate, and I am here with another episode of Getting to Know Your Community, Lehigh Valley. Today we have with us Jason Breidinger. He is one of the top lenders in the Lehigh Valley and a lender extraordinaire. Thank you for sitting with us today and talking with us.
Oh, it's nice to be here and to help.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, I'm 5'4". Just kidding. I'm 5'6". I would say that our business is one that is really evolutionary, although nothing has really changed. And that point we may kind of have as we discuss things as we go through here a little bit. But the business remains about the person that we help, which is the buyer. Then, of course, indirectly the seller, because everything that we do has to work in the end so that the seller can move, and then they're moving somewhere. So we kind of feel like we're at the foundation of
all connected.
Of what we do.
Yes.
Yeah. So our business revolves around that, and our task is to make sure that what we tell people works and that what they're about to engage they understand. So a lot of times our primary role is even educational.
Why did you choose to become a mortgage lender? What attracted you to this industry?
It's really interesting that you would ask that question. I would tell you that I got my beginnings in social work.
Okay.
So I studied social work when I was in college. That was my major. They called it Human Development and Family Studies was actually the title. So anything with an ology, right, is what they would throw into that book. As I came out, I got my real estate broker's license, and I sold real estate for 15 years. And during that time, realized that I really enjoyed working with the buyers and getting their costs going and understanding what their monthly payments would look like and how much money they were going to spend, all in addition to, are the rooms big enough, and those types of things. And so I kind of gravitated toward this almost organically to where I realized that, hey, I could really help. As a buyer's agent, I think, and I ran into too many situations where things didn't work right in the end. And I thought, well, maybe I could fix that. And so the voice got so loud that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I decided to do this, and it's been so much fun. It's been very, very, very helpful to so many people.
A byproduct of this question. So do you find that having been a realtor first and now a lender, you understand a lot more of what people go through and what realtors go through with their clients?
I believe so, yes. When you look at the process in buying a home, it's definitely an emotional one.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
And without those emotions, I wouldn't think that anything would really work. If this is not an exciting thing that we have the possibility of, what are we all doing? Right? If we aren't thinking about what's going to happen with the prom on the staircase, or perhaps maybe everything that happens at home, burning the popcorn in the microwave, all of those things that really happen, we're not thinking about where the people are at that moment. Right. And so, yeah, it really has helped. And the trials and tribulations of negotiating, you have to wait. Patience is very, very hard. To have someone tell you to wait, and then they'll call you tomorrow, and you're just hoping that you can wake up in the morning and get good news. So all of those things are important.
Lots of changes in our market recently. What are some of your challenges with all of it?
Well, markets change, don't they? Right?
Yes, they do.
Markets change, but we find, I think, Evangelia, what I found anyway, in my experience, is that people don't. Okay, the people are who we are focused on. And if they come here and people have questions about how can I afford this, or what do I do if I pay that, telling them if you decide to do this, this, and this, maybe that will happen. If you decide to do that, that, or that, you should expect maybe this might happen. That's what people need, right? And in any market, we can still give them that advice.
Jason, do you have any special plans, opportunities that work for Mortgage America and for the future buyers or sellers?
Yes, well, you're right. The knee bone is connected to the ankle bone, as the song would go. But I think the answer to that's service, right? We provide a service to folks who rely on that to be solid. And that has been Mortgage America for over 40 years, since 1980, right? And if you look at us saying that we will do something, it will be done.
Okay.
And that is what people have come to question these days in their normal dealings in commerce, right? If you think about even ordering a pair of shoes or maybe a dress or a pair of pants from the internet, will that arrive at the right size? And must I send it back? And who will pay for that? All of our interactions really, they wonder, is that going to work just right? If they come here, it's going to work the way we said it will work, right? And so what's happening in the market, you wondered, a moment ago, first-time buyers are really the focus of the world today, aren't they?
Sure.
And that's not anything that has changed, because our market is not a top-down market. Our market is a bottom-up market. If, for example, the average sales price in the Lehigh Valley may be somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000, that's the person that's selling that house that goes to buy the $450,000 or the $500,000 house. That $450,000 to $500,000 goes to buy the $700,000 or the $800,000, up.
Right.
So it makes sense that we would help these first-time buyers for that reason, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But it also makes sense that we would help them because they need it. These people sometimes need money to help pay their closing costs. Sometimes they need a lower interest rate to help soften the monthly payment, or both. And those are things that Mortgage America does so very, very well. The Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency type loans, we've been doing those for over 40 years, right? Well, I should say maybe we've known Pennsylvania Housing for 40 years. You would find out that what we do with Pennsylvania Housing is done quickly, it's done well, and it's done reliably. The settlements that we have with Pennsylvania Housing happen on time, because we hustle here and make sure that locally we submit things to them in time for them to work on them. We still give them their time to work on the file and make sure that people move, because that seller is going to buy a house, aren't they, that day? Hopefully they're going somewhere.
Hopefully, yes.
Right. And so that money, they need that money to most oftentimes buying. So these loans are second to none. We also have other first-time buyer loan programs that have lower than going interest rates or lesser closing costs for buyers, right? One of the things that hasn't changed over time, I think you could probably say, are you can spend money to buy your interest rate down. That's always been a concept for generations that have come before. I think the challenge is, in the last 20 years, possibly, certainly the last 2 decades or so, nobody's had to do that, right? It hasn't been valuable for people. If you were to come and tell someone these are called points, you should spend money to lower your interest rate, right? There hasn't been any kind of a repayment quickly enough. Maybe it would have taken 7 or 8 years. And there were times grandparents would bring their grandchildren in here and say, should we pay points? That's what we did.
Yeah.
Well, now that's relevant again, where for 20 years it was not. And so what's really lost is all of the education that these people got, generations got, asked their parents, hey, how did you do it? And here's how they did it. Well, that got severed. And now points all of a sudden become newly relevant thing for people to pay. Now they have to consider them again, and they're not equipped to know what they are. So we spend a lot of time educating them. If you're going to spend this money, if we were you, there's empathy in business. That still remains. And I think that's what Mortgage America is best at, is saying to the person, hey, look, you're going to spend your money. What would we do, right? Now you be the judge, but here are your choices.
I can vouch. I have worked with Jason in the past, and he has given me stellar service for all of my closings. And you did it pretty fast, the last one. So what is your advertised closing?
Well, the federal government allows banking, all banking, to close in 8 days. They require that the application be taken and that 7 days go by. Now, prior to that, we would do it in 1 day. We would call it hour power. In fact, I think that hour power term, we would have you come in an hour. You have to bring all your paperwork in, of course.
Right.
It would have to be good. Right. But if everything was perfectly done, then we would send the appraiser out, and the next morning we would have closing. In 1 day, we could do that. And the federal government actually changed that right around 2008. They told banking that you need 7 days, and then on the 8th day you can fund. And we will provide that type of service here. The title insurance companies will also sometimes step up and get that done quickly. Right. So that we find that useful. Sometimes people lose their apartment, or sometimes people sold a house or bought a house rather, and it fell apart, and something needs to be done very quickly. Sometimes the seller selling them the house doesn't want to make a payment before they sell. We find that a lot. People sometimes they're in an apartment, or maybe have lost their sale. Maybe they bought a house and it fell apart, and they're still selling theirs. They've got to rush through. These are things that are really important for people to know, that the speed is here, and that's done through the dedication and the empathy that our folks have. Some of them have been here for 20, 30 years.
Is there any advice you can give to future buyers and sellers as changes are happening all over the industry? What is the best advice you can give them right now?
The best advice I give them is, while it looks like so much has changed, and all the advertising that you're seeing, and all of the things that you're considering, that people are throwing your way, what seem like new terms or new approaches to solve new problems, I would challenge you to look for the things that have not changed.
Okay.
Because much of what you're going to do as a buyer and a seller has not changed.
Right.
Much of the practices you're going to engage, much of the decisions you're going to make, those are the same as they have been for generation after generation. You're going to use what the cost is and what is the benefit to you. And you're going to weigh those two things. And if they make sense, you're going to move forward.
Yeah.
That's what I would challenge people to do, is get rid of the noise and find out what has not changed. That's where your choices lie.
Right. So is there anything I should be asking you that I'm not, that you would like to add?
Well, I think we should add the fact that you do need a good real estate broker. And I might be biased when I say that because I've come from that background. I do, however, think that the real estate broker is the hub to this entire wheel. Now, you've been kind to ask me some questions here, and hopefully these answers that people see will get some help. And certainly they can call us if they need help further and questions come to mind. They're welcome to call. We'll take all the time in the world. But I'm just one spoke of that wheel. There are other spokes on that wheel as it needs to turn, and that would be the title insurance company. It might be an inspector that needs to take a look at the property. It very well might be even you could think of one of your family members that is going to help you make some decisions throughout this process. It's going to certainly be the buyer or the seller, the other party to the transaction, and the other real estate agent that's involved. The real estate broker who's helping the buyer can see all of those spokes.
Right.
When they wish, they can turn and look down each spoke. And I think that the real estate broker is oftentimes looked at as doing only one thing. They do many. And if you could take all of the bricks to build a wall, the real estate broker would be the one putting the mortar between them and setting them properly.
That's very kind of you to say. Yes.
I've walked it. I've done it a few times. And without that, if you remove that, things just don't go down the road as well. So get one that you trust.
Anything that we can know a little more, Jason, the person, what you do for fun, a little bit about your family?
Well, I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I love snow. And so, anybody who likes snow, I hope you're not mad at me for that. But I do enjoy snow, but I also enjoy the summertime. And so anywhere we can get out with the kids, doing baseball games, doing the fun, all the reasons for living. We do have 2 children, and they are teenagers and approaching their teenage years.
Really? Wow.
And so that's why we work so hard.
Very good.
You know what I mean?
Yes, our families.
That's why we work so hard. And we do understand family, and if you come here, we'll listen to what you need, not just what the market has to say.
Thank you for watching us today. And if you need any further information, you may reach out to Jason for further instructions on how to make your dream of home ownership a reality. Thanks so much.
Yes, it's just a matter of giving us a call, and there's not a cost or an obligation, and we'll walk you through whatever questions you might have. Without your questions, we don't have a job.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. You take care.
You too.